oh, are you forgot? It's the Margate Ems on the Blue Cross line. Don't fear the track in the full-time run. If you hear a dick in a jolting car, away, oh, are you forgot? With Eliza Lee all on my knee. Oh, fear the track in the full-time run. Oh, the Margate Ems on the Blue Cross line. Away, oh, are you forgot? She's never a day behind her time. Don't fear the track in the full-time run. If you hear a dick in a jolting car, away, oh, are you forgot? With Eliza Lee all on my knee. Oh, fear the track in the full-time run. Oh, the gals are walking on the pier. Away, oh, are you forgot? And I'll soon be home to you, my dear. Don't fear the track in the full-time run. If you hear a dick in the jolting car, away, oh, are you forgot? With Eliza Lee all on my knee. Oh, fear the track in the full-time run. Oh, when I come home across the sea, away, oh, are you forgot? It's Eliza, you will marry me. Don't fear the track in the full-time run. If you hear a dick in the jolting car, away, oh, are you forgot? With Eliza Lee all on my knees. Oh, fear the track in the full-time run. Oh, the fastest slipper you can find. Away, oh, are you forgot? Is the Margate Ems on the Blue Cross line. Oh, fear the track in the full-time run. If you hear a dick in a jolting car, away, oh, are you forgot? With Eliza Lee all on my knee. Oh, fear the track in the full-time run.
As commander of the British, Australian, New Zealand Antarctic expedition, it is with regret that I am unable to present to you in person the telling record of our activities. The undertaking was financed partly by the British, the Commonwealth and the New Zealand governments, but it is in large measure due to the initiative and princely generosity of Mr. Macpherson Robertson, popularly known as Mac Robertson of Melbourne, that the expedition was able to carry through in its entirety its 2 years program of scientific research and discovery. Through the magic of sound photography, you will voyage with my party aboard the Discovery and enjoy the fascinating wonders of many sub-Antarctic islands and explore lands where no human foot has trod in that vast, awesome, yet incredibly beautiful desolation which encompasses the southern extremity of the globe. As the story progresses, there will be unfolded to you the expedition's plans and program, and of how through the enthusiastic and loyal cooperation of my comrades, we were able to discover much new territory and to collect a vast accumulation of scientific data and knowledge for the benefit of the Empire and for the advantage of the world at large. This fascinating record of our voyaging and efforts, I hope, will bring back the thrill of adventure to the old and kindle the flame of emulation and achievement in the young. Ladies and gentlemen, I have much pleasure in introducing my colleague who took the pictures and who will now describe the countless points of interest encountered. Captain Frank Hurley.
Fellow adventurers, let us take it for granted that we are on board the Discovery, which is moving away from the dockside at Cape Town. As usual, of course, there is a tail ender. Mickey hops aboard to join the pantry staff. In reply to farewell cheers, Sir Douglas is calling for 3 cheers for the people of Cape Town.
Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
Thus inspired by the blessings of the world and his wife, we pass beyond the shadow of the famous Table Mountain, eager to embark upon the first year's program of the expedition. Captain Davis, master of the Discovery on this first cruise, is on the bridge with his officers. The Discovery has entered the fairway. The order is given, full speed ahead. And our bows are headed south on the boundless seaway, the highway of adventure that leads to the bottom of the globe. Now clear of the harbour, Mr. Child, third officer, is on watch. We are very fortunate. The breeze is in our favour, and the order has been given to make sail. The seamen are going out onto the jib boom foot ropes to begin the preliminaries by loosening the jibs. Nimble as squirrels, two hands trip up the shrouds to loosen the topsails, and it takes years of practice to avoid tripping too. The sailor is now climbing round the foretop. Up he goes and swings onto the upper topsail yard. He is now moving along the foot ropes to undo the gaskets. The gaskets are short lines which bind the stowed up sails to the yards. And when the ship is rolling, this is a dinner-stirring occupation. But the seamen are as much at home on the frail foot ropes aloft as a pedestrian on a sidewalk rolling home at midnight. By now the jibs are loosened, and the hands hurry down to haul on the halyards. Come along, man, come along, show a leg. Haul away! And the sails run merrily up to a hey-ho! 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 Oh, stretch 'em out, bully boys. Up she rises. And other such melodious noises. The jib halyards are made fast, and the seamen return to haul aft the jib sheets, thereby setting the headsails to the fullest advantage. Now those sailors we left aloft have completed their task, and here they are, sliding down the backstays to assist their mates to hoist the topsail yard. The seamen are now manning the capstan. The capstan bars are pushed home into their sockets. The halyards are given a turn around the barrel, and at the order, heave away, bully boys, the topsail rises to a rousing shanty.
And get underway. Oh, Rio! For the girls we have left, they can take our half pay, and we're bound for the Rio. Way down Rio. Oh, very well, my pretty young girl, for we're bound for the Rio Grande. So, Bowery ladies, we'd have you to know.
Heave and fall! The topsail halyards are then made fast, and now behold this stately beauty which marks the passing of Britain's last sailing ship. On the bridge, Sir Douglas Mawson and Captain Davis are discussing the plans. Our course is set from Cape Town to the Crozet Islands, where a brief stay will be made for scientific investigation. The voyage will then be continued to the little-known French possession, Kerguelen Island. At Kerguelen, bunkers will be replenished, and then a course will be laid across the tempestuous sub-Antarctic seas southward for Heard Island. The Discovery will next proceed to Queen Mary Land, and the Antarctic coast will be explored and mapped as far as Enderby Land. This will conclude the first year's operations. In triumph, the expedition sailed to Australia when this program was completed. Upon reaching Melbourne, preparations were made to refit for a second year's voyage. The Discovery has entered the fairway. The order is given, full speed ahead. And our bows are headed south on the boundless seaway, the highway of adventure that leads to the bottom of the globe. Now clear of the harbour, Mr. Child, third officer, is on watch. We are very fortunate. The breeze is in our favour, and the order has been given to make sail. The seamen are going out onto the jib boom foot ropes to begin the preliminaries by loosening the jibs. Nimble as squirrels, two hands trip up the shrouds to loosen the topsails, and it takes years of practice to avoid tripping too. The sailor is now climbing round the foretop. Up he goes and swings onto the upper topsail yard. He is now moving along the foot ropes to undo the gaskets. The gaskets are short lines which bind the stowed up sails to the yards. And when the ship is rolling, this is a dinner-stirring occupation. But the seamen are as much at home on the frail foot ropes aloft as a pedestrian on a sidewalk rolling home at midnight. By now the jibs are loosened, and the hands hurry down to haul on the halyards. Come along, man, come along, show a leg. Haul away! And the sails run merrily up to a hey-ho! 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 Oh, stretch 'em out, bully boys. Up she rises. And other such melodious noises. The jib halyards are made fast, and the seamen return to haul aft the jib sheets, thereby setting the headsails to the fullest advantage. Now those sailors we left aloft have completed their task, and here they are, sliding down the backstays to assist their mates to hoist the topsail yard. The seamen are now manning the capstan. The capstan bars are pushed home into their sockets. The halyards are given a turn around the barrel, and at the order, heave away, bully boys, the topsail rises to a rousing shanty.
For it's there that the river flows down golden sand, and we're bound for the Ryle Strand. Then away, on away, way down Ryle. Oh, very well, my pretty young girl, for we're bound for the Ryle Strand. So pack up your donkey and get underway. Oh, Ryle, for the girls we have left, they can take our half pay, and we're bound for the Ryle Strand. We'd have you to know, oh, Ryle, we're bound for the southern, oh Lord, let us go, and we're bound.
Heave and fall! The topsail halyards are then made fast, and now behold this stately beauty which marks the passing of Britain's last sailing ship. On the bridge, Sir Douglas Mawson and Captain Davis are discussing. We are nearing our first objective, Macquarie Island. Ice on the starboard bow. Ice, the first ice. It is very far north, and it looks as if we're going to have a severe time in the far south. Captain Mackenzie has just observed the shores of Macquarie Island looming through the mist. There's the island, look, just ahead. A big ground swell is setting in, and the sailors are having a giddy time taking in the sails. As a staunch seaboat, the Discovery was magnificent. But oh, how she could roll. Life aboard was a continuous whirligig of ups and downs that stirred us to the very soul. We are now heading up to Northeast Bay. Down on the forecastle head, the men are making the anchors ready for dropping.
Billy boy, is she fit to be your wife, Billy boy, Billy boy? Is she fit to be your wife, Billy boy? She's as fit to be me wife as the fork is to the knife. And me nancy kittle me panty, oh, me charming Billy boy. And
anchor being dropped in Northeast Bay, no time is lost in lowering the motorboat. Scientific gear and scientists are passed down and stowed away in the launch. The engine is started up, and Sir Douglas, who is an experienced boatman, takes the helm, and off we set on our adventures. As we chug shorewards across the bay, our launch scares flocks of Dominican gulls, which are gorging off a shoal of small fish. We moor the launch outside the breakers, transfer ourselves to the pram, and row ashore to ground thrillingly on the beach, with no worse experience than getting our sea boots filled. We carry our equipment to safety, and then each man is free to go about his specialized work. And of course, we need no second bidding. And now we are on Macquarie Island, the world's wonderland of subantarctic bird and sea life. Accompanied by my comrades, there they are carrying my camera gear through this dreamy scene of snoring sea elephants. Let us go for a ramble along the seashore. Now tread cautiously among these sleeping beauties. This way now, watch your step. Look out, look out, look out, look out, here comes a big bull sea elephant. My word, he's very angry at us for having invaded his harem. It's quite all right now, don't be afraid. He weighs 2 tons, but he's quite harmless. The affrighting look and roar of these amphibians are their most effective modes of defense. Why, of course, you know, it's looking for trouble to venture as close as Campbell is doing. Look out, Campbell, he'll be after you. Now come a little further with me, this way, along this sea elephant littered shore, and I will show you how the penguins spend their summer vacation. Ah, here we are at last. This is the Nuggets Beach, the Deauville of Antarctica. The bathing season is at its height, and the elite are gathered in festive thousands to enjoy the delights of the surf and to gossip over the social events of the penguin community. Oh, look, do you notice in the foreground there the members of the Nuggets Life-Saving Club marching past on their way to the breakers? Ah, here they come, strutting out proudly as if they owned the very sea. It is icy cold, but there is no hesitation in plunging in. Here come the Smiths and Browns too to join in the duck and dabble. Oh, and these are some of the highbrows. Look, they're watching the Browns and Smiths, and they're trying to make up their minds whether to lose their dignity and dive. Whatever I may remark about these little penguin people is neither romancing nor extravagant. They are indeed human caricatures. Their grotesque antics were an endless source of amusement that kindled in us a friendly affection towards them. Summertime at the Nuggets Beach is an unforgettable sight. The birds may be seen lining the waterfront in thousands and indulging in all the pranks of human surf bathers. And how they enjoy the thrills of shooting the breakers and the tussle with the undertow just as much as we do ourselves. Nor are lurking dangers unknown to the penguin surfers. The sea is too chill for sharks, but the fierce sea leopard haunts the waters, and one may be seen waiting in the surf for a victim. Look, there's the ugly creature right under this incoming breaker. The most popular diversion during the penguins' bank holiday is the stadium. Every seat is filled to gain a good bird's eye view of the heavyweight bout between Cyclops and Triton for the Sea Elephant Championship of the Macquaries. The lads have developed a fine, robust condition during their training and now taking the arena. Bill Grunt and Snort, the referee, is following them in, and Campbell, with a bell sail from a wreck, is acting as timekeeper. Now they're off. Both lads will scale a trifle over a tonner well matched. It is going to be a ding-dong go. Triton jabs a Jimmy Jazzler to the jugular. It is returned, and a blustering butt to the body brings the first round to an end. My word, this is thrilling stuff for the flappers who are rushing in to get a closer view. The second round begins. The lads are wallowing and weaving and looking for an opening. Cyclops bites his man's neck, a bit of dirty work. Oh, he's cautioned. The referee orders them up. Now they're in the clinches. Each is trying to sink his teeth in the other's face. Oh, look, Cyclops is following up an advantage by nibbling Triton's ear. Triton retaliates. Oh, he gets a beauty in, the bell goes and they flop down. Well-known citizens are returning home. My word, they look a trifle down in the pecker. They seem to have lost all but their pride. No doubt they're meditating over what they might have won if the other fellow had won. And this is Piccadilly, the main thoroughfare along which a ceaseless traffic of pedestrians passes between the seaside and the London of Antarctica. Nugget City is the largest penguin metropolis in the world. The site covers 30 acres and contains over 1 million royal penguins. My word, the colonists certainly seem to have mastered the problem of closer settlement. Flying officers Douglas and Campbell cause a popular sensation by running the first Antarctic derby. And here Campbell is trying out a spirited thoroughbred in the saddling paddock. A little change this from flying. Sea Flea, which was scratched, hopped away at the barrier and was disqualified. Amidst great excitement, the race starts. Now they're off. Douglas, who is astride of the sea snail, naturally, of course, is expected to come out of his shell. Though Campbell, mounted on the well-known sea urchin, which bristles with many fine points, is a keen favourite. And the jockeys are urging their steeds to the utmost with heel and howl, and the paddock is applauding the effort. My word, just listen to them. The urchin has established a lead of several heads and tails. Now they're in the straight. The odds are 500 to 1 on the urchin, which is ambling towards the post with well-undulating stride. Snail, through being balked by barracking punters, is well out of the running. The urchin reaches the foam, an easy winner. My word, here's Douglas, he is putting in some very shrewd jockey work, and the snail is floundering as fast as his flippers can flop him seawards. No doubt the running of the derby will be the subject of gossip in Penguin Land for generations to come. It was a sad day for the books, and this gloomy procession shows some returning home with that disappointed air of having counted their chickens before they were hatched. These are king penguins, the rarest of the penguin family. The large handsome birds build no nest. They lay one egg, which is retained in a small feathery pouch. Simmers is showing how difficult it is to wrest the egg from its setting. The bird holds on tenaciously and desperately, while formidable beak and flippers defy all but human intruders. Now, this incident, I think, should be of special interest to mothers. It shows how the king penguin's queen tucks the budding family to bed again. Baby is rather large for the little cot. Mother takes just a little peep to make sure that all is well. And then, with queenly dignity, she shuffles back to her throne in the king penguin's court. It is not until the second year that the chicks grow the exquisite adult plumage. And these young nuts with hair on their chest are just coming of age. King penguins dwell in sweet socialistic harmony. Though political wrangles are frequent, the eggs do not descend to egg throwing. But when a piebald orator brings his peck of troubles into the community, the ladies see red and the hen-pecking begins in real earnest. Other feathery flocks we encounter on this wondrous isle are the blue-eyed cormorants. The chicks have just hatched out, and fellow is going to give you a peep at them in spite of the scolding he will receive from mother and father. Wandering albatross also nests at the Macquaries, and Dr. Ingram, who is embracing a flapper before the camera, is having his ear well chewed for his gallantry. The inhabitants seem to realize the exceeding beauty of their island home, and this little party of tourists is exhibiting their patriotic appreciation by seeing Macquarie Island first. The incessant rains give rise to countless streamlets, which, gushing down the mountain gorges, play their harp-like melody to nature always. Now, before we leave the sub-Antarctic, I am sure you would like to meet some little friends which we made at Kerguelen Island during our last year's cruise. Our friend Fella is making an official call on Gen 2 village. Gen 2, by the way, is the name given to this caste of the penguin family. Fella, of course, is a very popular fellow with the flappers. Mind you, I refer, of course, to penguin flappers, and we are given a cordial welcome to the village. He is speaking to Pip and Squeak, and they are flustered. And the pipsqueaks are trying to hide under Mother's bed. Poor Pip scampers. But as soon as Fella leaves, she returns to her frightened babies, who run under the bed again, and Father looks approvingly on. Mother was engaged keeping the cradle and its contents warm until interrupted by our intrusion. And now she is regarding the problem of putting the budding family to bed again with maternal concern. The eggs must be so placed that both will share evenly the body warmth and be comfortable to sit upon. Mother nestles down to her patient task, which must never be relaxed. Hello, hello, who have we here? Some little rockhopper penguins, and this is their colony. A big honeycombed rock, and every cranny and nook crammed with roosting rockhoppers. Alf and Bill are outside their dugout in no man's land. They have joined partnership in the shell-making business. This brave little beauty is the Kerguelen tern. Scared by an invader, she courageously attacks him. Her cries bring defenders to the rescue. Moise leaves and Mother flies back to her baby. Though flurried, she fears that baby will catch a chill, and so she bravely tucks the little mite beneath her wing. And another parent, scared by our investigations, is returning to her nest. The egg is very large, and it takes a lot of shuffling to make it fit properly. Well, 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 what next? Just look at these inquisitive little sticky beaks going through our belongings, the little paddy birds. Psh, be off, you little rascals. Ha ha ha, look at this chappie. Why, he thinks his reflection in the shiny surface of a biscuit tin is a shadow sparring partner, and is tearing away the label as a preliminary to making feathers fly. Aren't these beautiful little creatures? They are the pigeons of Antarctica, known as Cape pigeons. They're very widely scattered, and they nest on most of the sub-Antarctic islands. And here they are pecking away at the blubber of a seal skin, which is being towed to the launch by the scientists. They're lending a little melody to the scene. Dearie me, isn't this a strangely assorted companionship of men, birds, and beasts? Not having come into contact with man previously, the wildlife has little fear of him. One of the men is going to pat this little sea elephant cub. Nice furry little chap. But oh, what a bad temper. It nipped him on the knee. Terrified by our approach, this scared sea elephant is making a headlong flop to safety, and the Cape pigeons are giving him the bird as he plunges into their midst. The deplorable destruction of seal life has almost exterminated seals in sub-Antarctic waters. This peaceful scene at the Crozet Islands was visited by poachers. Look at it now. Behold it 24 hours later. A shambles of blubber-stripped carcasses. Not even newly born cubs were spared. Contrast this deplorable depredation with this peaceful scene at the Macquarie Islands. The Commonwealth government has commendably proclaimed the island a sanctuary for bird and seal life for all time. Thanks to timely action on the part of the authorities, only the ruins of a boiling down factory indicate that despoilers once ravaged the island. But the early sealers did not conduct their activities without nature exacting retribution. On almost every sub-Antarctic island, one may see these forlorn symbols with their weather-beaten epitaphs that tell simply and impressively the fate of those who rest in peace. Peace, like a blissful benediction, descends over land and sea. And in evening's mellow hour, we bid farewell to Macquarie Island, spread our wings, and once more turn our bows to the south. The wind being in our favour, no time is lost in making sail. On giddy heights we observe one of the sailors loosening the topgallantsails 100 feet above the sea. Below on deck the watchers standing by, waiting for the order, haul away topgallant halyards.
Oh, they call me Hanging Johnny, away, boys, away. They says I hangs for money, oh, hang, boys, hang. And first I hanged me mother, away, boys, away. Me sister and me brother, oh, hang, boys, hang. And then I hanged me granny, away, boys, away. I hanged her up thick Annie, oh, hang, boys, hang. We'll hang and hold together, away, boys, away. We'll hold for
Belay! One of the seamen makes the line fast round a belaying pin. As we drive through these unfrequented seas, we are entertained by the companionship of many albatrosses which pursue our wake day after day in quest of food. We succeed in capturing a full-grown wandering albatross, and here the bird fanciers are measuring it in detail for aeronautical study. And what do you think was the wingspan of this peerless flyer? By the mark, 12 feet. An identification ring is affixed as an aid to the study of migration. And the albatross is presenting a big bill for the liberty. As fella is snapping the albatross, Howard Parsons is also snapped. By the time I had finished photographing, Howard had had a ripping experience. After investigation, the albatross is carried to the side and set free. After exercising its wings, the splendid creature takes off, and as if pleased with the contact with man, follows the ship. In the good old days of sailing ships, a tradition existed that the ocean's wrath would beset those molesting these birds. And you will see what happened a little later. A storm now began to brew, the order was given to take in sails and make all snug for a violent blow. And this was done just in the nick of time, when the storm fiends whipped the cloud-racked sky and then without further warning descended upon the sea in awful fury. After 3 days of hurricane, during which the wind reached a velocity of 70 miles an hour, the gale begins to moderate. Through masterly seamanship and a sturdy bark, we have weathered the gale without mischief of any kind. But the peril of ice suddenly looming through the fog and spindrift was a constant anxiety, especially when darkness shrouded all prospect. There is a typical fragment, as treacherous as any reef, on yonder horizon. The sea continued to fall calm, and next day we are able to make an intimate inspection of one of these glittering outposts of Antarctica. The calm after the storm. Advantage is taken of the temporary calm to coal ship, and this involves the transfer of coal briquettes weighing 25 pounds each, the various holes to the stokehole bunkers. Here the forwards are doing some vigorous passing. Sir Douglas is well to the fore, leading the All Blacks, a tint which the coal dust soon conferred upon us. Of course, we got filthy dirty, and this scene suggests that 2 men are almost equal to 1 woman. The stowaways have blossomed forth since you last saw them, and they have been promoted from the cook's worries to the deck rouseabouts. Mr. Child is giving them the first lesson in swinging the cups. Of course, the captain's not about. 6 days out from Macquarie Island, with 700 miles behind us, the lookout in the crow's nest gives a warning. We are approaching fields of pack ice. The whole expanse of the sea to the south is littered with small fragments of ice jostling under the heave of the swell. Soon our bows enter the brash, hustling it away with little effort and leaving a wake which does not close till long after we have passed. This small ice, called brash, from the sound it makes when jostled together by the swell, is the final stage in the dissolution of the great ice packs that lie far to the south. Amidst this grinding confusion ride majestic icebergs, glorious yet short-lived grist to the irresistible mill of the sea. This masterpiece rising to 100 feet, its sides pierced with portals the color of cobalt, suggests the ruins of some fair alabaster temple at the gateway to Antarctica. 10 days out from Macquarie Island, Mr. Child espies the Sir James Clark Ross on the horizon. There she is, directly ahead on course. This, due to the initial organization and the service of wireless, is precisely as planned in our program. The mammoth whaler carries 200 tons of coal for our bunkers, and we're now heading up to go alongside. This is not so simple as it sounds. Both vessels are ranging in the light swell, and the risk of damage is considerable. This problem is solved by the whaler. There are a number of recently captured whales moored close by, and one of these huge carcasses is actually secured between the two ships where it acts as a buffer. Coaling operations begin at once. Scientists and sailors aboard the Discovery dispose of the bags as speedily as the winchmen on the transport can pass them down. Now, I gladly availed myself of an invitation to accompany one of the chasers on a whale hunt. And while my belongings are being transferred to the whaler which has just come alongside, I will introduce to you a gentleman of the whaling fleets, our host Gunner Larsen. All aboard! And off we glide to take part in an ocean big game hunt, the sport of Vikings. There are 8 steel chasers attached to the parent vessel, speedy little craft, 90 feet long and capable of a speed of 15 knots. As we proceed, the crew cleans the gun, reloads and makes ready for action. And just in the nick of time too, the Norwegian cry, "Blast steerboard," electrifies all. To my amazement, we are charging a whale at full speed. The gun is ready, and now is the chance. But Larsen does not shoot. The whale was a sperm, a variety yielding inferior oil and not hunted today. Larsen explains the gun. Here you see the head of the harpoon extending from the muzzle. The weapon weighs 116 pounds and it is attached to a coiled manila line beneath it. This leaps away freely when the harpoon is fired. This lead line is attached to a hemp rope, a mile long, coiled up in the hold. Why, there is as much thrill in navigating the ice as in hunting the whale. Just when it seems that our frail craft must be wrecked, the helmsman turns his wheel and we avoid collision. Thrillingly we charge on, while the ice drums a tattoo against our thin steel plates. As we emerge from the ice, we pass close to a small berg. Nearby, a chaser is fishing and is hove to, waiting for the whale to reappear. Oh, a second whale has been sighted and Larsen is standing by ready for action. The lookout hollers down directions. Now watch very, very closely. You'll see the whale look coming up right straight ahead. There it is. Now it's offering a better target. It's coming up again. Larsen braces himself, he squints the sights, now he's going to fire, stand by, watch this very closely. Oh, hard luck, he has missed, and the whale sounds. It was a very difficult shot after all, right in the eye of the midnight sun. The whale now grows very shy, and we play at hide and seek amidst the ice floes for 4 hours before Larsen spots him again. Full speed ahead. The chase is on, the whale is diving, but we are hastening to where it is expected to reappear. Now there is fine cooperation between the gunner and helmsman. We are brought soon again within range. Now watch very closely, it's a thrilling moment. Up comes the whale. There he is dead ahead, but if shot at now, the harpoon would most likely go clean through the whale's blubber and the quarry would be lost. So the whale's life is spared just for the moment. The lookout now is giving us a warning. Larsen is ready, tensely studying every wrinkle on the sea face. Now is the helmsman's job to bring the ship within range. The chance is coming at last. Now watch very, very closely. Stand by, he's going to fire now. Oh, watch the harpoon. It strikes. and the stricken captive lashes out desperately in an effort to escape. The great tail is flung into the air, but the deadly harpoon has done its work. The dying whale is winched alongside, and it is brought right under our bows. Now this is very interesting. Watch this closely. The whale is coming right under the bows of the ship. A hollow lance attached to an air pipe is pushed through the blubber, and the body cavity is being inflated to prevent it from sinking. They're caulking a wound there with a piece of oakum. The carcass is then made fast to bits on the forepart of the vessel. The flukes of the tail are cut off, and the prize is towed back again to the factory ship. Some idea of the magnitude of whaling in Antarctic seas may be gauged from the fact that there were 40 parent ships and 150 chasers in operation during our cruise. Why, to fill the oil tanks of the Sir James Clark Ross alone would entail the capture of no less than 2,500 of these monsters. We return to find coaling operations complete. We take leave of our hospitable friends, exchange cheerful salvos and signals of goodwill. The bows of the Discovery are turned west. One of the chasers escorts us some distance on our way. Our plans now are to force a passage through the ice-armoured seas till we meet the Great Ice Barrier, and then to pursue the Antarctic coast for 500 miles to King George V Land. All hands cooperate to assist the airmen to assemble the seaplane, so that all may be in readiness in case the ice should grow unnavigable for the ship. This is rendered very difficult by the ocean swell which is now coming down from the north. And so that the final adjustments may be done in calm water, the Discovery is headed for the shelter of a magnificent iceberg. The poor pearly walls are enriched with beauteous portals, sculptured by the ceaseless wash of the sea. Now, while the airmen are attending to their task, let us take a peep in one of these great ice tunnels. There is one coming up now near to the end of the berg. We're rowing up towards it. Now here it's coming. And when we go inside, now speak very softly. We're going in now, for even the reverberation of our voice may bring down thousands of tons of crumbling ice upon us. Shh, shh. Listen to the rumbling of the sea in the deep recesses. Oh, let us get out again quickly out of this place. Ah, that's better. We can breathe more freely now after escaping from that treacherous death chamber. While we have been away, Howard has been taking sea temperatures and water samples to determine ocean currents. This is Howard sending down a Nansen-Peterson water bottle for the purpose. So that the depth of the bottle may be known as the wire unwinds, it is measured by a meter block. A sliding weight closes the bottle at the desired depth. Sir Douglas Mawson is directing the wire as it comes in. Up comes the bottle. This operation, shown in just a few moments, generally occupied 4 hours. The water samples are bottled for future analysis. Now let us presume that 14 days have elapsed since leaving the Sir James Clark Ross, and we are now off Cape Grey at the entrance to that notoriously stormy inlet, Commonwealth Bay, King George V Land. Rounding Cape Grey, we run into the teeth of a violent gale. Drawing close now, and those are the rocky outcrops of our destination on the port bow. The wind is blowing offshore, and though the sea is not severe, the force of the gale in our rigging almost neutralizes the Discovery's engine power. Stubbornly we fight our way yard by yard to the great sheltering ice cliffs. We're drawing close now and the wind's going over our rigging. We attain our goal and drop anchor. Next morning, to our great amazement, the weather suddenly falls dead calm. The motorboat is manned, and the members of the scientific staff are here cheerily chugging shorewards. Who would not be a member of this jovial party? The journalists of King George V Land are well to the fore, and as if anxious not to lose a detail of our arrival, have arrayed themselves on crystal grandstands, whence they greet us with squawks of welcome. Had they been humans, we could not feel more thrilled as we continue to the head of a charming little boat harbour. Oh, the mayor and his councillors are waiting, and here they are about to confer upon us the freedom of the land. A long list of entertainment has been arranged, and we will make our official call later. In the meanwhile, a landing is made. To some, the first landing on the Antarctic continent. To Sir Douglas, Kennedy, and myself, a re-landing after 20 years. For under the same leader, I spent nearly 2 years at this spot. And now amid familiar scenes, many friends with hearts leaping for joy sprang on us a surprise welcome. The little chaps are just jumping for joy at our arrival. Oh, these are the local comedians going down to the landing to welcome a famous movie star who accompanied us. Mickey has just landed, and the flappers are simply flocking round him and giving him the twice over. Some of the parents, however, thinking that Mickey has designs on the flappers, are craning their necks and calling, "Police, police, police," at the top of their voices. The local beak rushes in and cross-questions Mickey, and receiving no explanation, summarily deals with him. All right, but don't make such a song about it. These skewer gulls are fierce brigands that live by stealing penguins' eggs and chicks. Come, birdies, come and let us hear you sing again. This panorama of rock and ice slope is the site of the winter quarters of the Australasian Antarctic expedition of 1911-1914, commanded by Sir Douglas Mawson. There lies the hut which the expedition occupied for 2 years, and below it the boat harbour at the head of which we recently landed. Far beyond, the Discovery rests at anchor in Commonwealth Bay. This is the old hut, which has withstood the assault of unparalleled blizzards for 20 years. Dearie me, what memories are awakened. Sir Douglas Mawson is pumping up the primus to boil the billy, while Kennedy is forcing an entrance. This was eventually done. Lo, behold, the sight revealed when a light is kindled. This was the kitchen, where each member graduated for culinary honours and leather medals. Jack Frost has created a huge, well-iced jubilee cake on the floor. The rafters of the living room that once rang with sparkling wit now scintillate with crystals and festoons of downy snow. In the cubicle once occupied by Sir Douglas, the glittering artistry of Jack Frost has reached its culmination. The interior is bejeweled with diamond-like crystals that shimmer and fall in tinkling showers as we move. Nevertheless, the place, haunted with memories of the past, is as cold and gloomy as a vault. It is a relief to escape to the open and find lunch being served. An ancient stove that did us much warm service in days of yore now serves us as a table. It is set with canned foods and a meal partly prepared 20 years ago. The climate had preserved it perfectly. After lunch, we pay our official call on the Adelie penguins, which have numerous colonies on the rocky outcrops nearby. The hatching out period is well advanced, and most of the mothers are caring for 1 or 2 chicks. And here, poor old father has been left in charge of the twins, and is evidently perplexed as to what to do with them, like many another father too. Mickey also is making his debut, and as official entertainer has brought his portable gramophone and his latest recording. Oh, you're going to hear now how the performance affected the audience.
Making everybody smile, and the night is walking, appearing on the talkies. What this little chap can do, the things he gets up to on the screen of fame. What's this fellow's name? Mickey, a tricky mouse. On the land and on the sea, he's a himself. He can dance and he can sing, talk and walk and everything. Quite a great Mickey Mouse.
Ho! Who have we here? Oh, this is the guest conductor. He is beating time to the serenade, and he seems to be bewailing the fact that if he had another feather he would fly. Oh, look at this. These are the local prima donnas. They're inspired to wobbles and warbles, and 2 are craning their necks in an endeavour to reach top notes. Mickey's tantalizing theme is dinner music to these hungry youngsters. Here they are playing musical chasings with their mother before lunching. Oh, well, they're working up an appetite. There's Frankie, Georgie, and Herbie. I wonder who's going to win the meal. Frankie and Geordie are in the running. And little Frankie wins and earns a well-earned repast. This chart shows where all these incidents are taking place. We are 1,900 miles south of Melbourne. The next stage of our voyage will be the exploration of the coast from King George V Land to MacRobertson Land. Owing to the impenetrable nature of the ice, we're going to have a stubborn fight, but we hope that the seaplane will enable us to fly above the icy barriers and to survey coasts hitherto inaccessible. Now aboard the Discovery and anchor weighed, we leave King George V Land and once more enter the deep blue waterways that meander amid the glittering flows. And what a joy it is to gather on the forecastle head, to study the ever-changing prospect, and to point out items of interest to one another. Now, we're just coming to some crab-eater seals. My word, we're scaring them too. And bergs mast high come drifting by, as green as emerald. Some are rent with great fishes, the end on view of bygone crevasses. Now the next berg is of special interest. Watch very closely at the left and you will observe a column of sea spray puffing from a blowhole. At the left and you'll see the sea spray. There it blows. But the star of all is a white mammoth that holds a circle of blue sky in a glittering arch, like a sapphire in a crystal signet. And now the siege of the ice packs begins in grim earnest. Progress grows laborious, and our staunch little vessel shivers from stem to stern as we ram the ice, split it, and butt through. And what a crackling, grinding and scrunching is growing on as the ice yields growlingly to our thrust. As the ice is seriously obstructing navigation, Sir Douglas decides to send up the seaplane. Before doing so, Howard is inflating a balloon with which to test the upper air currents. Simmers is erecting a vertical sextant. At a signal, the balloon is brought onto the forecastle head and released. Simmers will give us a peep through the telescope. There's the balloon setting out on its great flight. Howard records the readings, and there is the balloon, 5,000 feet in height, right in the center of the circle. Over 100 flights were made and much information gleaned about the upper atmospheres. As the sea is littered with ice, too heavy to launch the seaplane, the Discovery is navigated northward to open water, and encountering a light swell makes for the lee of an iceberg. Sir Douglas is having his camera overhauled. Flying Officer Douglas starts.
Look out!
Now, so as to clear the berg behind which we are sheltering, the seaplane is obliged to taxi away some considerable distance, and this compels Campbell to take off in a swell. He has to go a little further out yet. The machine now is turned about, the throttle opened, and they set off. As the plane is heavily loaded, the swell adds to the difficulty in rising. They are bounding towards that iceberg at 30, 40, 50. Can Campbell clear it? Now they're closing in onto that berg. Heavens! Yes, bravo, they're off!
Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
And just in the nick of time. Now let us take a seat in the cockpit and share in the awesome sights which unfold as we climb up above the pack ice fields. There's the Discovery just below us like a toy. Now we're heading out over the pack-strewn ocean. We can accomplish in an hour what the Discovery would take 24 hours to do. Let us look over the tail. There is a fine prospect along the margin of the ice fields from which we just ascended. Now we'll turn round in our seat and look ahead. This is a fleet of majestic icebergs, great ice masses cast adrift from the Antarctic coast and grounded in shallow water. Now we're going down to inspect the two caves in the front of this berg. Campbell shuts his engine off, and down we glide. Those two caves are about 90 feet high. Lower and lower we go. Campbell starts up the engine again, and we continue on our flight. Now we're coming to some more icebergs. These leviathans stand approximately 120 feet above the sea, and there is actually no less than 8 times this depth of ice submerged beneath the ocean. Those groove formations are old crevasse lines. They're filled in with snow. Now we're drawing close to the Antarctic continent, and ahead there is a rocky island standing 1,000 feet in height. On the right-hand side you can see the Great Ice Barrier. The machine is headed back to report the discovery. These flights generally occupied 3 hours, and it was always a relief, not only to the aviators but all, when the ship was sighted again. To locate the discovery is always a problem. Anxiously we scout the icy maze which hides the ship. Where is the ship? We look in every direction for her. Oh, there she is. Look, just down in the center of this pool. The engine is shut off, and down we glide. Lower and lower we go over the ship, which looks like a toy ship in a calm blue pond. There are some small bits of ice on the course. We'll have to be very careful now in landing. Lower and lower we go, and Campbell makes a perfect landing, and we taxi up to the Discovery. Now the sea is very bumpy, and as the Discovery is rolling it will be very troublesome to hook onto the lifting tackle. Sir Douglas Mawson is standing by on the fuselage ready to hook on. As soon as he comes alongside, the order will be given to haul away. Haul away, boys! The men respond instantly, and just as the machine is being lifted, one of the strops is carried away, and the machine is being hurled against the ship's side. The airmen are flung out. Sir Douglas is in peril of the whole lot crashing down upon him. The rolling of the ship makes it difficult to rescue the men. What might have been tragedy was averted by the chief officer, who contrived to get the machine back into the water just as the other holding lines parted. The aviators are rescued, new strops are rigged, and the plane is brought under the hoist. The order is given, and the hands haul away, and the machine is lifted from the water. Though looking little the worse, subsequent examination disclosed the machine to be damaged almost beyond repair. Now this gives you some insight into the hazards accompanying these daily flights, which were only abandoned when the weather was too stormy or the ice conditions too dangerous to carry on. It speaks very highly for our airmen. Sir Douglas Mawson now visits Captain Mackenzie, and here he is discussing the result of the flight. A determined effort will be made to reach the land. Here we are, butting our way through floe ice 3 to 4 feet thick. And this is where one good turn deserves another. Here my shadow is doing me a good turn, while I turn on it and also on a little surprised penguin which has just popped up from under our bows. Mr. Mackenzie in the crow's nest is scouting for a passage through the ice field. A very disconcerting prospect confronts us. There is no passage in any direction. The ice clutches at the vessel's side with increasing grip. Progress grows tardy, and finally we are gripped immovably. Imprisoned, we are compelled to await a blizzard to loosen the ice. Advantage is taken of the hold-up to ice ship, and all hands join enthusiastically in the undertaking. Baskets of ice are collected from the neighboring ice floes and hauled inboard. By the way, do you know that when seawater freezes, the salt leaves the ice? And when we melted it, there was never any dearth of pure ice water for kitchen purposes. Nor, in fact, was there any dearth of snow for this good-natured diversion. Sir Douglas Mawson is tipping the ice into the melting tank. After being delayed for 4 days, the ice begins to crack up, and by skillful manoeuvring, the Discovery is extricated from her frozen captivity. Christmas Eve is ushered in with bleak snow squalls and grey skies. But as if to shed a benediction on the hallowed morn, The sunbeams are dazzling and radiant. Christmas Day is observed with festivity and rejoicing. Amid settings such as the fancy might well imagine existed in some heavenly sphere, the members bring out His Master's Voice portable on deck and enjoy a concert and bask in the warm sunshine. In another part of the ship, Commander Moyes is performing a hair-raising stunt on Flying Officer Douglas, who is submitting to the barbarous takeoff with an airman's stoicism. Moyes is encountering a ticklish hair pocket. Oh, you're next, sir? Professor Johnson, ever beaming and bristling, and Dr. Ingram, our champion golfer, in the rough with Mr. Fletcher, and Mr. Marr, whose quills resemble bristles on the fretful porcupine. Flying Officer Douglas before and after his whiskers had flown. And we are not the only ones to indulge in Christmas frolics. The middies are playing at shadow catching and trying to solve the riddle of the ropes. Ah, it's a knotty problem that kept them mystified for hours. Nigger looks on, ever watchful that her family does not stray into danger and fall overside. The idea of repairing the damaged seaplane was not abandoned. The machine was taken down, and all the members under Campbell and Douglas worked day and night to accomplish what appeared to be impossible. Here the members of the Polar Dorcas Club are doing a little feather stitching on the wings. And about this time we miraculously avoided a serious collision with a polar ferry carrying members of the Antarctic Alpine Club. Douglas, who is reassembling the plane, starts up the engine. The little Adderleys come closer, but the Emperors more cautiously go down on their tummies and toboggan off in their quaint tortoise-like way. 5 days after the accident to the seaplane, the wrecked machine is restored, and here it is taking off to fly across the unnavigable fields of ice to continue a survey of the Antarctic coast. While the plane is away, it is the custom for the scientists to carry on the program of ocean research. A vertical net, which may be closed at will, is being lowered to ascertain the distribution of life at various depths. The operation occupies a few flashing moments on the screen, but it generally took us up to 6 or 7 hours. The net is now coming up after having been closed by a small weight which was sent down the wire. The diminutive life gravitates to a small bucket at the end of the net, and this is unclamped and the contents are poured into a preserving jar. The bucket is then rinsed, and the residue is also poured in. Professor Johnson is examining the catch, microscopic but prolific organisms which form a very important food supply for fish and other marine life. Now this haul is the result of towing a large net behind the Discovery. Do you see those little shrimps darting about? They are called krill. They are very abundant in the Antarctic waters, and there the tiny mites provide the sole food supply of the largest whales. Oh, there's the hum of the plane's engine. It diverts our interest from the subject for a moment. The plane is returning, and it is about to land. Douglas makes a perfect landing, and the plane is taxied back again to the ship. Now, while the sailors are getting it on board, just let us look at the after part of the ship where the scientists are hauling in the otter trawl. This is a powerful type of net for collecting specimens from the bed of the ocean. The net's coming in now. Professor Johnson is describing specimens brought up in the trawl. Now this very beautiful plant-like object is an Alcyonaria. It is not at all a plant, you know, it is but a colony of animals, or polyps, connected by delicate plant-like branches, very similar in fact to true coral. Starfish is also very abundant in all these hauls that we made. Hello, Professor, what is this coming ahead? Oh, this is a whale carcass. Evidently the unfortunate monster, while attempting to swim beneath an ice field, was trapped and smothered. The body has been greatly expanded by the gases of putrefaction. The airman's report concerning the slackness of the ice proves true, and we are able to proceed at full speed southward. In honor of our captain, Sir Douglas Mawson called these waters the Mackenzie Sea. We continue southward until progress is stopped by a succession of great ice cliffs. This is the sea face of the Antarctic continent, the Great Ice Barrier. Over 500 miles of new coast was charted in this sector, which by royal consent was named Princess Elizabeth Land. Skirting this glorious coast, we were able to link up with Macrobertson Land discovered last year. Towering masses of rock ranging up to 2,000 feet stand out in noble relief from the ice-encumbered shores. We attempted to land, but owing to the treacherous surf running, this had to be abandoned. The outcrop was named Murray Monolith after the Chief Justice of South Australia, a supporter of the expedition. While skirting the coasts, large numbers of seals gambol about the ship. This variety, known as the crab-eater, is of little commercial value. As we continue searching for a possible landing place, the coast grows mountainous and rugged. Before us there rises a grand prospect of cloud-wreathed highlands, sheathed with dazzling glaciers. As a fitting tribute to the man who so princely assisted the expedition from the outset, Mr. Mac Robertson of Melbourne, Sir Douglas named this territory Mac Robertson Land. At last we are rewarded. A promising landing place offers. As we draw closer, the bottom speedily shoals and the Discovery is hove to. The motorboat is manned and the adventurers set out. Our spirits run high, for the glamour of the occasion is with us. What discoveries we may unveil in this wilderness of rock and ice. Making Antarctic history, we land on the foreshore of a well-sheltered boat harbour. that has waited since creation's dawn for man's coming. Sir Douglas Mawson hurries off to find a site on which to raise the flag. On the summit of a commanding bluff above the broad waters of Discovery Bay, the ceremony of taking possession is performed. The staff is erected, the party assembles. In a section recorded later, you will hear the leader deliver the official proclamation.
In the name of His Majesty George V, King of Great Britain, Ireland, the British dominions beyond the seas, Emperor of India, whereas I have it in command from His Majesty King George V to assert the sovereign rights of His Majesty over British land discoveries met with in Antarctica, now therefore I, Sir Douglas Mawson, do hereby proclaim and declare to all men that from and after the date of these presents, the full sovereignty of the territory which we have discovered and explored south of latitude 64 degrees and as far as the South Pole, vests in His Majesty King George V, his heirs and successors forever.
Captain Mackenzie raises the flag.
God save our gracious King, long live our noble King, God save our King. Send him victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save our King.
The proclamation, sealed in a copper tube, is placed near to the tablet at the bottom of the staff, and the ceremony concludes. The flag fluttering above the cairn holding official documents are the lone signs we leave behind to show that man has been and conquered. As we leave in the motorboat, we rejoice in the success which has crowned our efforts, and it is with gratification we realize that the expedition has added to the chart 800 miles of new Antarctic coast and collected such a wealth of data as to make the expedition preeminent in polar history. In spite of diminishing coal supply, the Discovery continues west, skirting the Great Ice Barrier, mapping the coast, and adding to the scientific program. The most westerly landing made was at Proclamation Island, 250 miles from our previous landing. The flag was raised by Sir Douglas Mawson and his staff during the last cruise. Many well-wishers make their way to the Discovery to bid us bon voyage. Well, cheerio, little people, till we see you again. Cheerio. The sightseers come closer, and Dr. Ingram, our worthy Scot, farewells them with sweet Highland melody. Ah, that is what the little hens of the south thought of the cock of the north. They scampered, and that is the last we saw of them. The midnight sun is shedding a gentle glow over the frozen south and painting such a picture as will endure with us for all time. We gather on the forecastle head to watch the lonely land recede in the hush of peaceful midnight. Then we turn homeward. Triumphant in the full realization of our 2 years' quest, we extend a meed of praise and share the honors with those who supported the expedition and made it possible for us to voyage with Mawson to the frozen south. In conclusion, I cannot do better than select from the hosts of messages received from all parts of the world upon our return to Australia, one from His Majesty the King.